Yeah, what this video is going to be about is replacing the timing belt on one of these Toyota 5VZ-FE engines. It's a 3.4 liter V6. And they're used in a Toyota Tundra, some of the Tacomas, the RAV4, or no, yeah, and some of the 4Runners have them. Yeah, I'm actually replacing the engine in this truck, but I'm not going to make a video on that since I just did several videos on replacing engines in different cars. Yeah, and these engines are real common. They're probably used in several other cars that I don't remember exactly what they go in. Yeah, and another thing with these engines is they take the spark plugs with a dual ground on them. And here's the part number. They cost about $10 a piece. If you put regular plugs in this, it will have a misfire when you first start it up when it's cold out, and it'll cause the check engine light to be on. So you can only use those kind of plugs. And most Toyotas that use those kind of plugs have this sticker on it somewhere. So I've taken quite a bit of stuff off this engine because I got to switch it over from the other engine. So the first thing you'd have to do is take this lower part of the power steering pump bracket loose, which goes right here. And then the AC compressor bracket has to come off of there. Yeah, so next I'm going to remove the AC compressor bracket and the harmonic balancer. On the harmonic balancer you want to use an impact on that. And these just pull off, you don't have to use any kind of puller on it. Yeah, so next I'll pull the upper part of the cover off, and to do that you got to pull a dipstick tube out at the same time. And there's just, let's see, there's 6 bolts you got to take out. Yeah, so what comes off next is this piece that the water pump, or the fan attaches to. I call this the fake water pump. And then you can take this piece off that holds the wires and the lower part of the cover. Yeah, I do get a lot of people calling me up and they say the water pump's bad on their car, but that's not actually the water pump. This is the water pump on the inside. So now I'm going to take that lower part of the cover off. So next you always want to line all the marks up before you take this apart. And you put the bolt back in the crankshaft and you can turn it and do that. But actually this needs to come off first. Yeah, then you don't have to take the bolt back out when you do this. This engine must have come off of something from the East Coast because of the corrosion on the aluminum. And if the bolt won't screw in all the way, you need to put some washers or a nut on here, but I think on this one it does. Yeah, it goes in all the way so it doesn't bottom out. Yeah, so all the marks are lined up. Here's the crankshaft one. You can see it lines up with this piece right here, which is at 12 o'clock basically. And then you got these two. And this would be the right camshaft and the left camshaft. Hey, it's always best to line this up before you take it apart. Because sometimes it's hard to turn the engine over and turn the cams and get everything to line up. The only time you have to do that is if the belt's already broken. Yeah, so next the 2 bolts have to come out of the tensioner, which are right down here. Yeah, so the tensioner's off. And when you do this, you should have all the parts laid out to where you can see everything good, so you don't forget to put something back on and end up having to take it back apart. So next we're going to take this part of the tensioner off. Yeah, and you always want to put grease on this when you take it off, before you put it back on. Then we can take the belt off and the water pump off. So I got that part of the tensioner off and the belt off. And this is the original Toyota belt, and this engine's supposed to have 113,000 miles on it. Yeah, so you always want to replace these around 100,000. And a lot of times I'd do them, and then the person says, well, the old belt still looks good. But these don't give you any warning when they go. Usually a little over 100,000 is when they'll go. A couple teeth will go on it, and that's it. And it bends all the valves on the engine. So next I'm going to take the water pump off, because you always replace the water pump at the same time. Yeah, the water pump's off, and with these Toyota water pumps, some of them have an oil cooler, some of them don't. This engine has it, that's why it has this piece. So when you buy the water pump, they're going to ask you if it has that or not. Yeah, and that's the oil cooler, what it looks like. This old engine doesn't have it. And here's what it looks like. It just is capped off there, and it's got no piece sticking out of the water pump. But it's better to have it, so I'm going to put it on back on the truck like with the oil cooler on it. Yeah, so the first thing you're going to do to putting this back together is put the new water pump on here. You also want to look at all these pieces, these idlers, and make sure the bearings are not bad. Some people buy it as a kit that comes with all brand new stuff, but most of the time you don't need to do that. It's a lot more expensive if you buy it that way. Yeah, because most of these, I see them with like 300,000 miles on them, and these bearings are not bad. Another thing you want to look at is these tensioners. It's got oil in here. It's a hydraulic tensioner, and sometimes they leak the oil out of them, and it makes a hell of a noise when you put it together and if the oil leaks out of here. Yeah, and the reason I don't normally buy that kit that comes with the tensioners and the tensioner and those pulleys is those kits that comes with really cheap bearings in them, and the original ones are much better. So you're better off to leave the original ones on it if you can. Yeah, and I always use this gasket sealer. I know you can't read it anymore. It's the Permatex Ultra Gray gasket sealer. This is what all the Asian import cars would have used on it originally, and it's real good stuff. And I'm also replacing the thermostat while I got this apart. Yeah, so now I'm ready to put the new belt on. And a lot of these new belts actually have marks on it you can line up, which makes it even easier. And it tells left and right cam, and it's got a little dot right here that it lines up with. Also, before you put the belt on, you should always make sure it's the same length as the other one, because sometimes they sell you the wrong one. Yeah, so now this piece of the tensioner, I need to put grease on it, because this needs to be able to swivel here easy. Yeah, so I got the belt on there, and as you can see, this lines up with that mark. And these two, this makes it easier with these belts with the marks on them. I just stuck that crescent wrench in there to hold it, because now I'm ready to put this piece back on here. Yeah, with that piece of the tensioner in there, it'll hold the belt so it stays in here without jumping off. So now we're ready to put this hydraulic part of the tensioner back on. Yeah, so on this hydraulic piece, what you want to do is pull this rubber off and look at this and make sure these two holes line up. And then you put the rubber back on, and you're going to stick this in a vise and compress this real slow. Yeah, so you definitely don't want to go too fast with this because it's got oil in here, and it will go. And I have this little tool to stick through here to hold it when I get it compressed. That comes with new ones, these hydraulic tensioners. But you can find something else that's that diameter and stick it through there to hold it. Yeah, and here's what it looks like with that tool in there. And that just holds this compressed. So now I'm ready to put this back on, and then we'll just pull that out after it's back on. Yeah, so now I got that piece, the hydraulic part on there and that tool out of there. So what you always want to do after that is turn the engine over 2 times and see if all the marks line up. Yeah, so I just turned it over 2 times and all the marks still line up. The marks that are actually on the belt will only line up 1 time when you put that on. So you're lining up these marks and the mark down here. Yeah, so next we want to put this washer back on, which is very easy to forget to do that, and the lower part of the cover. Yeah, so now this piece that actually supports the fan goes on. And when you do this job, when it's in the Toyota Tundra, you only need to take the fan and the fan shroud out of there to do this. If it's in a 4Runner or like the Tacoma, you might have to take the radiator out. Yeah, so that piece is back on. This bolt nut I'm not tightening down yet. That holds the power steering pump, and I'm going to use the one that's still in the vehicle. So next we're ready to put the top part of the cover on. Yeah, and it's much easier to show this in a video when the engine's out like this. But when it's in the actual truck, I think the power steering pump and the alternator can stay on there. It's just this air conditioning compressor will have to come off, and the bracket for it. And for the power steering pump, you just take the lower part off and swing it out of the way. Yeah, so next I'm ready to put the harmonic balancer back on and the dipstick tube, and that's it. Yeah, so it's all back together now. And when you buy these timing belts, they come with a sticker that you put under the hood with and you put the date and the mileage so you know when it's been done. If you put that on there, it will fall off or get damaged, and the next person who comes around won't be able to tell when the timing belt's been done. So I always do it like this. This is from me years ago, or a while back. I take a scratch awl and put it right on the front cover of the date and the mileage. Then it's on there forever. I can't do it on that engine right now because I can't hook power up to it to see what the actual mileage is right now.